Hi everyone, welcome to another video. So in today's video I want to show you guys how you can create your own mixing template. We're going to be using UAD LUNA. So great news is that now LUNA is free also for Windows users. It was just for Mac users before, but now if you're on Windows you can also have it for free. It is the most amazing DAW and it's just mind-blowing that this is for free. It does have this analog sound. That's what everyone's been talking about, that Luna has got a sound of its own, and from what I have so far experimented with it, it does kind of have its own vibe and is really cool. So I strongly encourage you to download it, to use it, to try it out if you can. And today I'm going to show you how to create your own mixing template. It doesn't have to be in Luna, the process would be the same. So you can just do it anywhere or whichever DAW it is of your preference. So without further ado, let's get to the video. So in Luna, whenever you open it, this is what you get. You've got some videos you can watch and then just some tutorials and some info about how to use Luna. And then if you're already on a project, you just go to File, New. If you're not on a project, this is the kind of the window you get. So I already have templates set up. So if I wanted to start from a template, I would just click right here and I would choose the template. But right now we're going to create our own. So I just click over there and we're just going to create an untitled file. If you want to set up the tempo, it's really cool because you can just literally tap and that's going to give you the tempo that you want. So you can do that straight off the bat before you begin with your project. And then you're just going to select where you want your project to be. I'm just going to leave it in Luna Sessions. That's absolutely fine. And we're going to create a new session. This is the thing you get whenever you open a new session, just the main track. You can resize them over here, this little corner. I'm just going to set them to Pico. And it looks quite in handy whenever you have a lot of tracks. It's really nice to keep them organized. So what we're going to do here is at the left, you're going to create new tracks. So I'm going to create a couple of buses. I think we're going to create like 20 buses just to start with, stereo buses, and then you click OK. The first thing that I like to do is, again, I go here, I resize everything. It's just visually a bit more appealing. And then the first bus that I create, so you just double click on it and I'm going to create a master bus. After that, I'm going to create a mix bus. Let me color them differently. So my master bus, I'm going to set it up as orange and my mix bus is going to be red. Command plus on Mac, it is to access the mixer view. And then if you go here to the bottom, my mix bus, I'm going to route it to the master bus and my master bus is going to the main, so that is correct. All of these buses right here, I'm going to create kind of what I like to do as if it was an emulation of a console. So I'm going to separate groups of tracks one by one to then feed into my mix bus. So the first one that I do is an all music bus. Then I do my center drums that I name C drums. Then I do my high perks and then I do my low perks. And then I will do the bass, the guitars, keys, miscellaneous music instruments like strings, synths and stuff like that. Then I will do the vocals. And then I'll do my background vocals and my effects. So my all music bus is going to go to my mix bus. So literally when you click on it and then on the left, you can choose where you want it to go. And then my C drums, my perks, everything basically but my vocals, I'm going to route it to this all music bus. The reason for it is because I like my all music bus, which I'll show you guys in a second. I like to have it kind of control the music as a whole together. And kind of to have it react to the kick and the snare, which are those elements that usually poke in the music. And usually I find that when songs are too crowded, it can be easy for you to lose your snare and to lose your kick. And one good trick, which I've explained in another video, is that you can have a compressor react fast to the kick and to the snare. And what that's gonna do is lower the music every time a snare hits. So like the snare hits, and then everything else, all the other instruments that I'm sending to the same compressor are going to dip at the same time. And then my vocals, I'm not sending there, I'm sending them directly to my mix bus. So we can start right here. Let me just color these differently, actually, because they are going to the all music bus. And let's color them actually a lighter shade of green. Perfect. So let's leave it right there for now. And let's focus on these ones. So my main bus, I just use it usually for monitoring. That's why I created a separate master bus, so I like to have things separate. And on my main, I'm just going to have basically metering plugins. This one is for free. You can check the LUFSs just to check the loudness or the perceived loudness of your tracks. And then I like to use this other free one to check the RMS level. So usually I have them both open and I compare the RMS level with the LUFSs of the track. And that is a very cool trick that you guys can check. Whenever you have too much energy on the track, and tracks usually are energy heavier towards the lower frequencies, as you know, bass takes way more space in the mix. So whenever you have a very high number of RMS compared to the perceived loudness, it usually means there's too much energy on the track, so there's too much bass. So usually by having these two together, if I have my LUFSs at -9, I'm looking to have my RMS at around -9 as well. A little bit up or down should be fine, but if I have my RMS at -7 and my LUFS is at or the other way around actually, my RMS at -12 and my LUFS is at -9, like I'm having a huge difference in what I perceive and what actually the track is giving me. So it may be that I have too much bass or too little bass. So I have to play around with it to have these two numbers kind of get closer together. But that's something we can discuss perhaps in another video because there's a bit more to it. And then the other thing that I add after this is a spectrum analyzer. This one is for free from TTR. It's called Prism. And if you click on that little wrench over there, you can actually input a file, which could be a reference track. So this is a very cool, easy way to compare two tracks. So your track would be in blue and then your reference would be in white. And that's pretty cool whenever you're mixing or using references. The other one that I do use and that I perhaps like even more, which is this one from Voxengo, which is also free. And I like this one a bit better because the graph is actually in bars. And when it is in bars, I find it easier to kind of pinpoint different instruments because I know that snare is going to be around here, the body of the snare. I know that the bottom of the kick is going to be at around here. So I know whenever the level is at that, it's probably because the biggest culprit of that area is the kick. So I know that I'm going to be matching kind of at around the same level with my own kick, toggling between the reference and my own track. So at this point, we can also add a reference track. Let's add a stereo track over here. We're going to route it to the main. It is routed to the main. We're going to mute it for now. It will always be muted. unless you solo it and unmute, so you can compare easily with your own track. And this is where I would be looking in and out between my track and the reference by using this one. But again, if you're using, for example, TDR Prism, you can do them both. And again, it is for free. So my reference, I won't add anything at all. On my master bus, I would add a limiter. This limited Z is for free. I think it's probably the best free limiter out there. First thing that I would do whenever I add a reference to the mix is I will match the loudness. And to match the loudness, you literally just bring this gain knob up, and I would bring my spectrum analyzer in. I would check, for example, what the loudest peaks of the reference track are. And let's say the kick is at -6, for example. And then I will drive my own track enough with the gain to make sure my kick is hitting at the same level as the reference. And then I know that my kick is always going to be at the same level. So everything is going to be mixed around the kick that is matching my reference, if that makes sense. And this is how I would start, by getting a bit of loudness into the track. And before the limiter, I would add a clipper, because if you're just adding sound or creating gain with a limiter, chances are you're going to have distortion that doesn't sound that pleasant. And you can usually, well, not easily, but you can help solve that problem with a soft limiter like this one, which it's also for free, by lowering the threshold as required, and just by having those peaks be tamed a little, just that when it reaches the limiter is not doing that job of limiting the tops of the transients, because the soft limiter is already doing that for you. And a soft limiter will add a more pleasant distortion than a digital limiter will. So usually I add that one before that one, and that's the very bottom of the chain. A couple other plugins that I would add to the master bus. I would start with this free Pultec emulation from Acoustica Audio. You can download it; it's for free, and it sounds amazing. You can boost the low end, and you can boost kind of the presence areas or the sheen of the track, depending on what you think sounds best and what you think, again, your track is lacking compared to a reference of your choice. Usually use that one in the beginning, and then I would have a TDR Nova, just cutting what we can't hear, and if we can't hear it, it means we don't need it. So from around 20 to 20K, actually I just bypass all of that, because you won't be hearing it anyway. Then I have seen on another video from actually another very good channel, using this kind of the same similar chain, and then using this Coral Baxter, which again is from Acoustica Audio. It's for free, and just adding a bit of sheen on this frequency right here, so 18K. You won't almost hear it, but you just feel that the track is a bit lighter. It's adding a very nice kind of, not presence, but like it's a very airy frequency that makes it sound much nicer. So I always play around with this one, and I may actually also engage the pre. It usually sounds very good. And then it's usually about time to kind of compress the track a little bit. You have this Buster SE from Analog Obsession, another free plugin. This is a SSL console type compressor, VCA compressor, and usually you just kind of want to be bringing things together without squashing the track, squashing the dynamics of the track. Another alternative for this. I'm just trying to think of another free plugin that you could be using for this. There's another very cool one from Acoustica Audio they've released recently, which is a similar type of compressor, and you can try that one around. This one, I think this one sounds really, really good as well, and they've released it for free. I'm not sure if it's still free, but you guys could check it out. If not, again, the Buster SE, or another one is the TDR Kotelnikov, another great free compressor that is usually a mastering compressor, and there's a lot of presets that you guys can play around with. So this would usually be kind of a normal chain in a master bus for me, and then on the mix bus I will add this free plugin from ToneBoosters. This is from their Legacy Bundle. So if you guys go to their website and you just look for ToneBoosters Legacy Bundle, how to download, and there's a whole bundle of plugins for everything that literally, if you just have those plugins, you'll be able to do a lot with it. And this is it just adds nice saturation to your track. There's these presets. Usually I just leave it on glue tape 2. It sounds really, really cool. It really takes your track to the next level if it's just missing a little bit of glue and nice saturation. And then I may add another EQ. I'm just going to add this iKey Multimedia Pultec emulation, just so I don't have the coffee teaspoon again. So I'll just add that one, and then I will add my other iKey Multimedia bus compressor, which again is an SSL bus compressor emulation. But again, you could be adding the Buster SE here and the coffee teaspoon here again, or you might just decide that you actually don't need to add any of that. And that's all for now for these. On my all music bus, I will be adding a VCA compressor, or any compressor really, that's VCA. And the point of this is that as I was explaining before, I try to have a fast attack and a fast release, and I'll just play with, usually the fast attack, I'll leave it as that, but I'll usually play with the release a little bit to hear it sounds better. I will usually bring the sidechain filter up a little so that the lows of the kick are not just triggering everything. Otherwise it'd be a track where you just listen to the lows of the kick. So once that's bypassed, I will have the snare, or the body of the snare, triggering this compressor. And as I said, as the needle hits just a tiny bit, I don't want to have it actually here on the gain reduction. I don't want to have it like in the middle. I want to have it just timing a little bit of the music around it. And every time the snare hits, the music kind of creates that effect of dipping a little to give space to the snare and to the kick, and those transient heavy elements of the mix to poke out without having to bring them up. And as you know, if you're bringing those elements up, you may struggle later in the mix to gain or to make your tracks as loud as other tracks sound, and then your tracks obviously wouldn't be as competitive as other tracks. So that's all I would do for the all music bus, unless there's something else or an EQ move that I would find necessary, and at which point I'd just bring an EQ in. And then for my buses, all the way until the effects bus, I will add an emulation of a console. I like this one from Waves. I got this one from free at some point, I can't remember. It's really cool, but if you don't have that one, Analog Obsession has got this console with a K, and it's going to just basically do the same thing. It's going to generate a bit of harmonic saturation that you would have as if you were summing through a mixer, an analog mixer. So that's all I'll do here. And then I have got all my buses set. What I would then do is create some more buses to act as kind of like folders for my instruments. And then, for example, here I would have my kicks. Here I would have my my snares. I would have here my high perks, low perks. I'll color them all in blue, for example. I would have nothing really here. As I said, I would kind of use these as more like folders to bring all of the elements together. So my kicks, I'll send them to my C drums, my center drums. I would send my snare to my C drums as well. My high perks to my high perks bus, and then my low perks to my low perks bus as well. Over here I would have my guitars, I would have my keys, and then my miscellaneous music elements. So these will go to my guitars bus, these will go to my keys bus, and then these to my miscellaneous music buses. It's really cool because as you add them, you can see the color, so you know that you're adding the actual right bus. So over here, I'll just color the guitars, for example, orange. My keys, I'll color them yellow, and my miscellaneous music, I'll color them this pink. And then I'm just gonna add a couple more buses. Last but not least, I would have my vocals and my background vocals. So my vocals and then my background vocals. All my effects, I would not add them at this point. So if I created a reverb, I prefer to create them as I go because I create them kind of knowing exactly what I want. If I find that if I have them on my template, I will just be tempted to kind of using them without thinking that that's the right decision to make. So I wouldn't add anything from the template from scratch. I would just kind of set up a little basic processing for the vocals. The first thing that I would do is I would add a EQ just for some cutting moves. Then I would add fast compressor, a FET style compressor to tame the peaks a little. So I'd have kind of a higher ratio and I would have the needle just kind of literally be at 1-2 dBs of compression maximum to tame the peaks, not to just compress the whole vocal. So that's why this would be my first compressor of preference, setting up a very fast attack and a relatively fast release as well. And then I just play with it until it's about right here. At this point, I would be adding perhaps some sort of de-esser. Again, this is from that ToneBoosters free pack that you guys should download. And then I would be adding another compressor, and at this point an LA 2A style compressor. I happen to own this one from Universal Audio. If you don't, you can add the free version of Analog Obsession, which is very, very good and sounds very good as well. This is kind of the processing I would do to the vocals. I would kind of leave it at that. I may use another de-esser after the compressors if needed, and then I wouldn't do much more until later in the mix if I feel like I am missing something from the vocal, is not giving me enough presence, at which point I would just be playing around with a few tricks that we can explore in other videos to give the vocal a bit more sheen, to give the vocal a bit more presence, and perhaps create any parallel channels. I would not create parallel channels and effects channels again off the bat because I would like to do them, as I said, intentionally as we go in the mix. And if so, the process of creating them would be equally easy. You just go to the plus, you add the bus, and then you route it to the mix bus, and then you just create whether if it's crush for your drums, if it's some parallel compression for your drums to give it a bit more power, or if it's just for the vocals to bring it forward in the mix a little bit. So this is kind of where I would leave it at that. And I would just, as I drag my tracks in, I would naturally place them under these little kind of folders, and then I would route them to these folders, and then the rest would be routed to these kind of summing channels, and then all the way to the mix bus and to the master bus. So that's it, guys. Very easy to set up. I hope this has been helpful. And if there's anything you'd like further clarification on from this video, you just type it down there in the comments and I'll make sure to make a video just for that. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.